Ready. Doink doink.
Hey, everybody. Yay. How's everybody doing?
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Hello.
Don't mind me. I'm in my car. I'm listening though.
Driving along. I actually just saw, I was going to send an email out. I saw, Rhiannon, that you wanted to be on conferences committee. So I got to send you a little outreach for that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yay. Well, hello, everybody. I'll get this started. Welcome to, so you want to host a regional. Some of you I
I want to
see.
run the bathroom. Let me go to the bathroom real quick. Okay?
What's that?
That's like the general overarching.
Is somebody just not muted? Okay. All right. So I just wanted to welcome everybody, and we're here to answer your questions, give you a quick little recap. Some of you I see have already applied. Some of you are in the process of applying. So we're here and we can do some breakouts if you're kind of farther along. Or if you're just in the beginning stages, we can also sort of set you up in maybe a breakout room to just sort of like go through the preliminary questions that you might have. So I'm Beth Eischen, chair of the conferences committee for HAPS. Everybody who's been here or who is here hopefully has attended a HAPS, and that's why you're so jazzed and pumped to host one. They are the absolute best, and I'll stand on that. So the annual is a very large conference. Hundreds of Hapsters come together in a city for workshops and what else? Presentations and speakers, and just to sort of connect with one another regarding our love of teaching anatomy and physiology. And a regional is a smaller, scaled down version of that, actually is equally as amazing. I attended one last year. Several of us here have either attended or hosted one. With just a scaled down version of the workshops, an update speaker, and it's done in it, one and done in a day. So it's a lot less sort of commitment to a prolonged amount of time organizing, and it just is really a fun, exciting way to bring HAPS to your institution. And so I think that's probably why many of you are here. So I can kind of open it up to sort of like any questions, like questions that are like sort of that you pressing questions that you have, or information that you want to have. What part of the phase of the process are you in currently? And we can kind of help you sort of like move into maybe some rooms so that we can help you get the information that you need. So what questions do you have about hosting a regional or annual meeting? Or things that scare you? That's right, Margaret. What scares you? Anybody have something, questions outright?
I just wouldn't have any idea even where to start. So, I mean, that's kind of, I'm here just sort of idea gathering and like, I just to sort of see how you even get something like that started.
Okay, so we have a great document. If you weren't on the original list, Rhiannon, so you don't have that document. We have a really great document which I can share in just a second, do a screen share, or maybe Tom or somebody can screen share. We can just kind of walk through it.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Many of you that are here have seen that document, but it really is just like where to start. You got to go to your institution. You have to speak primarily to your chair and then move your way into like sort of like the feasibility and whether you're going to have support at your institution for hosting. Find a date. Yes, Margaret, you got to find a date. So if we have a group of people that really have nowhere to, like no idea where to begin, that might be a good place to start and maybe put a few of you in a breakout room with Tom. That Google Docs Tom just shared. Abby, you mentioned to your higher ups and they asked me about cost. So there should be no cost to your institution. The only thing that we sort of, one of the big questions is whether your institution will allow us to use your facilities for no charge or if they're going to have a charge, a cost for that. Right, Tom, would you add anything to that?
No, you're on the right track. If your school normally charges for rooms or parking or anything like that, that's what we usually ask them to provide, but there is no other charge, nor do they receive any money as well typically. HAPS will take care of registration, expenses, catering, whatever else, and take care of all of that.
So Abby, if your department and your requires that you rent rooms, then HAPS, yes, give it depending. That's going to sort of be the make or break of how a conference can work, is how much is your institution going to charge. Of course, we love it when they don't charge anything and we're just like breaking even, and then we can kind of just focus on the conference itself. But we do have to roll in that consideration if they're going to charge for the rooms. The other consideration is also, if they do or don't charge for the rooms, is AV and all the tech available? Or are you going to have to, have your AV tech folks on call or part of it as well? And will there be a charge for that? If we are looking for a letter of support from the college, what does that need to include? That's a very good question. Carol, I know you're out there. I was about to respond to you. Caitlin is working on something. I thought that was maybe included in our document, but we're going to work on that. We will provide you the information that you need for the letter of support, like maybe give you some ideas for how to create a letter of support or a prompt, what's required. But the just like Tom posted, that FAQ sheet has lots of info. Carol.
I mean, that was my biggest question in terms of what do they need to say? Because if it was me as the dean, I would not feel that I have covered all my bases if I simply said, this is great, we support hosting this meeting. There needs to be a little bit more information.
Agreed. And I think we don't put a template out for folks, and people have asked for that in the past because every institution is very different. You have a really large institution. It's going to be much different than if it were on a community college campus. So the considerations, and someone like Abby in Chicago at an medical school institution that may want to charge. So those are some of the things that need to go into the letter of the support, right, Tom? Like, we support, hosting this conference. There'll be a charge or fee for rooms, things like that, just the things that go into the consideration, but our facilities are at your disposal. Anything else to add, Tom? And I think what Caitlin's going to email you is a letter from somebody from a previous HAPS regional, provide you with an example. So you can just see for that institution what they provided. So the letter should state that the administration understands they are hosting a day of meetings. They'll support the faculty in preparing the regional meeting, and there may be some charges or may not. And that gets all negotiated with Caitlin and the organization. Anybody else with their hands up? I think Heidi, you had unmuted before. Any questions?
I see that Margaret has her hand up.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was
So I
just trying
just want to say, if you think about it for your institution, what would you need to have for you to approach other people on your campus and ask for arrangements to be made? So it varies from institution to institution. Do you need a dean to sign off on it? Do you need a vice president to sign off on it? But it's sort of like acknowledgement by the appropriate administrative official for your campus that this is an authorized event that you're trying to plan, and showing that they are aware the event is happening and are supportive of it, so that you can use that to grease what other wheels you might need to.
All of that sounds great. Essentially, everything is ready to fall into place once we get the letter and get a date worked out. everybody's really excited.
Yeah, so in order for us to submit it, so just to clarify, we need the letter of support from the institution in order to give it to the board for consideration. And then the dates get worked out and the final, then we move into the final stages. That makes sense.
I've got a question if I could.
Sure thing.
All right. I was looking at potentially fall of 26. I noticed I don't see any regional meetings for the East in fall of 25. How quickly could you move from your end? I could move quick enough to have one happen this fall.
I think the consideration for that is that we have a virtual in October, and so we don't want to compete with
Okay.
an already established virtual that we're having. So I think currently we're looking, we could do something in the spring of 2026, but the fall of 25 would be too soon. Let me just see if that's the lead time. I mean, ideally we want, a year, but we can do this in a short, usually it's more about getting the HAPS membership aware of it, getting people registered and interest generated. I don't think the vendors, I don't know the exact time frame for Margaret for vendors, but I think that's a consideration down the line. On the application is preferred dates, are those set in stone? No, they're not set in stone, but we do consider it. So we're not going to have overlapping regionals like right one on top of another. I think so giving a couple dates close within time frame. Like I think, for instance, Carol, you were like end of October, middle of November. You have a couple of dates that you could work with because you have to consider your sports scheduling. But once we get the letter and send our recommendation to the board, it's going to take a little time. So obviously things can change over the course of when you submit the application to when things are accepted.
So
Tom
had a question?
Oh, Soma. Okay. Sorry. I'm looking at the chat. Soma, question.
Yeah, I talked with you, Beth. I do not know. I was still thinking of, if possible, spring 26. So I don't know if it will be possible or not. If
We're
not, then
when I talked to Caitlin right after HAPS, it's possible. It just would depend on dates. We don't want to get too close to the region or the annual. So again, like what Tom's saying is usually we need at least about an 8-month lead time. So we're getting a little, it would be getting close. If you were thinking about a January or February.
no, March.
March would be the absolute latest.
Okay.
So we can chat about that a little further. If you're pretty far along and you're ready to submit, then, but so what is
maybe I need another week or so, because I already talked with my department, with our department, with our dean of our college. And we recently had a change in our department head. So he told me to wait till new department head is here. Dean is interested and he likes the idea. So maybe by next week, I might have a little better idea.
Okay. So maybe if you have the sit down with the dean and get a little bit more concrete idea, making sure that you have so you're thinking, hoping, hosting a HAPS, have all that information, what you need to ask him in terms of facilities. And I'm happy to sit down and chat with you if you want to have or we can do a little breakout and get any questions answered so you have everything you need to bring to the dean. Unless you feel like you already have everything you need and you just need to kind of confirm with him.
You sent me that information, and also I talked with Larry as well. So, and also I did go over through the guideline in the HAPS.
Okay.
So I considering that, but I'm sure if we talk, there might be some other thing if I'm missing. There is no harm to talk again with the details.
Yeah, sure. So if you have your dean meeting and then things crop up, your dean's like, I would like to know this, then we can try to get you that information in a quick turnaround and we can see where things fall with a March.
One thing he asked if there is, as we have with our university, Augusta University has a medical school. So he was suggesting to have some collaborative effort from physiology or anatomy department. I do not know if it is okay to have that or how that will work.
Absolutely. So when you're assembling everything for this, it's actually amazing if you bring in not only just individuals and other faculty and departments from your institution, but other institutions on your committee. You can form a committee, and it's super helpful in generating interest and registrations for your regional. So by all means, I think that is, would be a great partnership, bringing in the medical school and any interest they may have in doing workshops or presentations or the like, or even, sometimes there's hosting of a dissection workshop, some kind of pre or post conference workshop as well. It's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm not
Larry
seeing,
has his hand up.
I don't see any hands. What is going on? Okay. Or does you physically have your hand up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, there it is. I'm not seeing it when I scroll through. Okay.
Couple things, I guess, from when I went through the process to host the regional for Southern Region. When I approached, first of all, I went to my provost, Vice President of Academic Affairs / provost, but I had a real good working relationship with her, so I felt very comfortable doing that. One of the things that I did was, in setting up the meeting, I sent HAPS's website link to her so she could start to familiarize herself with the organization. A lot of our administrators don't know what HAPS is. And to help support and get that buy-in, I was trying to educate her as much. And she actually had some really good questions when I went for the meeting about HAPS missions, purpose, kind of, how widespread it was. So it helped facilitate that conversation a little bit more. So that's one of the things that I would definitely recommend, is sharing as much information with whatever administrator you're going to do prior to the meeting to get them familiar with who HAPS is and what we do. And then I brought the application with me and kind of used some of those questions about financing and fees and pricing to also help drive that conversation. So they were already a little familiar with HAPS. We kind of chatted a little bit. Got the buy-in, kind of did the soft sell that way. And they were a lot more willing to forego charging for custodial fees and AV setup fees and building usage fees and all of that, because they were a little bit familiar with the organization. So that's one suggestion that I would give, especially for the regional perspective.
So I'm hearing that people are interested in support for writing their letters, who the outreach should go to. And I guess, again, it is institutionally dependent on whether you're dealing with deans or provosts or other different operational folks at your institution. Abby had a question about Saturdays. So yeah, they're generally on Saturdays, but like Tom says, there have been some on Fridays. I don't know. I haven't attended. Tom, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, it just depends on usually like your school or your state. I know a couple of states, everyone kind of agrees that Fridays are when you have statewide meetings of biologists, or some schools decide Fridays are when labs are, and so we meet on Saturdays. So it really kind of depends on your institution. Like Margaret said, also, if you're in session, are you competing with students taking up labs and teachers being busy with that? So it's really up to you and your school. I see
Anyone?
Carol has her hand up.
Okay. Carol.
Getting this letter again, and who do you actually go to request the letter? Because our institution is so large that, it should actually be myself that I ask for a letter, but that would be weird. But I'm also thinking whether or not this person just needs to know that the host or hosts would not be neglecting the duties that they're essentially paid for to plan the conference.
I mean, I think it's, yes, part of that. And again, it is dependent on your institution. I think you provided a name. There was a name on your application for who would,
Lee Cohen. Yeah.
oh, I think it's more so just about, again, I think Larry and Tom have addressed like that it's okay that there's permission from whatever the permission structure is to have it at the site, if that's you. So then, you know, that again, that the institution is offering rooms or that there's going to be fees. So, Tom, do you want to add anything?
There's really two considerations. The one we admit out loud is what Beth has been saying, the fact that, you know, we want to make sure that you have, you know, support at your school and you've got enough administrative authority that when you need to start talking to IT or parking or janitorial or this or that, you've got someone who can get this done, make sure rooms are unlocked, make sure rooms are reserved, that and that. So however high you feel that needs to go in your administration. From HAP's side, we need to know that you aren't just one lone wolf for your school that says, I want to invite 100 people to my school, and I haven't told anybody at my school about that. We've come close to having that situation in the past, so HAPS wants to have a little bit of a safety blanket of knowing that you actually have told your school and they are on board with you. So like Beth said, it kind of depends on, like you said, how big your school is. You know, you may be a dean as the highest person in your whole campus, or you may need to go up to a vice president or provost. So.
Does that answer your question? Yeah, Carol, is that answered enough? Do you think you have?
Yes.
Okay, Brian?
My question, presenters, posters, and so on. Do people presenting posters, for instance, I could have a lot of medical students, a lot of master's students with posters. Do they have to be HAPS memberships? I realize they'd have to pay to participate at the meeting, but do they have to be HAPS members?
No, they don't have to be HAPS members. We like them to be HAPS members, but they don't have to be HAPS members. And if you want to encourage, and we have kind of tossed around, I think recently, you know, maybe something like a little different for students, but there's nothing set in stone. But no, they don't have to be. And I mean, you know, we welcome everybody to, and submissions galore for your posters and presentations and workshops. And then you as the host are the individual with your team, your committee that vets those, that goes through and screens those. And we have an abstract that you can utilize, or a rubric for that you can utilize to sort of help figure out, you know, if it's sort of meeting your goals of the conference, meeting your theme.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
One thing to bear in mind is if someone is going to present a poster, they do have to be present to present a poster. We had a regional years ago in Albuquerque, and we had two people who showed up like at the very beginning, put their poster up and left for the day. It's like, no, sorry. We need you to be there to present and answer questions. But beyond that, yeah, like Beth said, we've got a price range that if someone wants to register as a non-member, that is taken into account. And we are looking at things like student registration levels as well.
Okay.
I just went to AACA and they had like, everybody's posters were up, but only every other person was there at the time. So all the posters stayed up the whole time. It was crazy. I thought it was a little bit different. But a lot of absentee posters just hanging there. Is everything getting answered? Margaret, 5 sessions? Yeah.
Just to
So the
piggyback
question
off. Oh,
was
go ahead.
how to know how many sessions to schedule concurrently. And so you have this thing of a balance between, we're counting on people to volunteer to give workshops. So you can't give 5 concurrent sessions if you only have 4 proposals. So you have to, it balances itself out, but to know whether you need to solicit some more presenters, kind of depends on how realistically you can estimate how many people to expect. So we're trying to think of having, you don't want to have so many sessions that only 2 people are in the audience for every presenter, but you don't want every session to be a plenary session. So it works out. It's one of those things that, I don't know if you remember Shakespeare in Love, you know, it's theater magic. It happens, it works itself out. Don't stress out about how many you have. It's how to structure it so that everyone who would like to present, who you think is going to do a good job, can do their workshop, but not putting all of your eggs into only one basket, or spreading it out so thinly that that good sessions go underattended.
It also going to be dependent on how many update speakers you have as well. Like in Golden, there were 2. So there was one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So you kind of have to work those puzzle pieces around those speakers. And both speakers were great. I know that sort of lots of different feedback on update speakers, but so you could have 1, you could have 2. But again, it'll depend on how you put those pieces together.
I have a question. Another reason I'm asking for that, because this came out with my conversation with our dean, because depending on the concurrent session, we need to have that many rooms available along with the AV support, which I need to give that request that, okay, how many room I'm looking for, and then what are the associated personal help we are looking for.
So kind of what I did with my regional was I overestimated. So I anticipated 100 people with about 20 people in each session. And so I reserved, I think I actually, instead of 5 rooms, I reserved 6. And it was easier for me to back down and say, okay, I don't need those rooms anymore, than what it was for me to try to scramble and find more rooms. And so I would overestimate on that. And that way, you know, you're covered and you're fine with that. And one of the things that I had to learn, this kind of a side note, but yet related, I was spazzing and panicking because I think 2 weeks out from the deadline, I think I only had like 1 workshop and maybe 2 posters. And Caitlin kept reassuring me, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And it was like the day before the deadline and the day of the deadline, I got flooded with about 16 applications for workshops and about 20 posters. And so don't judge the success on that until right up until that deadline, because that tends to be when a lot of the applications come in, is that day before, day of, and even the weekend past the due date is when a lot of those things will start coming in.
Larry, I had a question about that. So did your institution charge for your rooms and then, or no?
No.
Okay. I wonder how that would work if they are charging by the room and you have to give the, you know.
The only thing that we had to negotiate with the college was food service, and that wasn't even the college. That was the catering vendor for the institution.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Yeah, and again, a lot of this is done by AGS. A lot of that like once you just have to get the permissions, and you have to deal with your facility in terms of AV, and then everything else AGS takes care of. So it's really the front end where all your work comes in, and day of where you've got all the excitement buzzing and you want to have some volunteers maybe. But other than that, it's really this front end work, getting these questions answered.
As a total random suggestion, do not underestimate the amount of coffee that your attendees will need traveling to a 1-day conference, because a lot of us drove like to that location, and whew, a lot of coffee.
I know, I do, yeah.
Which I believe is the single most expensive liquid on earth. Coffee
No.
supplied by a vendor, by a food service vendor, because you have to pay for the setup and the cleanup as well as the liquid itself. So I forgot, we did it out when my annual conference was, and it was like $50 a gallon for coffee.
Wow. Criminal. It's an essential. It's a necessity.
I think the most stressful part of the whole planning process for me, for my regional, was finding the update speakers. Start early, plan on every scenario possibly happening, and just trust that it will work out. My two update speakers found me instead of me finding them. And I had gone through several, like we had things set up and booked, people backed out. I had a hurricane come through, we had to completely reschedule. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, surrounding the update speakers. And I start early and just be patient and just know that in the end it will work out. But I think that was the most stressful part for me was the update speakers.
Were they around your theme, Larry? Like, did you have like a general theme for yours, or did you?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we were focused on active learning, and student engagement was kind of our overall theme. And again, out of the blue, both Katie and Michael, they approached me and being interested in doing a keynote. And both of them really were centered around kind of how we engage students in doing anatomy and physiology and what that could look like within a lecture setting. So it just kind of happened.
Awesome. Carol, I'll bet you'll have the coolest, well, you're gonna have the best workshops. Those rooms are amazing. I cannot not wait to see those.
We are, you know, I've got people in mind for update speakers. We have the capability to live stream it,
I
you
know.
know, in different rooms, so we could do virtual as well as in person simultaneously.
So exciting.
And all of the equipment is integral or integrated within the building construction. And if
Yeah,
we
for
have
me,
to, we can stream from one room to another room, an additional room if
If you have overflow or something.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
yeah, for me too, like as I'm kind of connected with the medical school, so update speaker, hopefully I don't think it will be a problem. Coming back, yes. Coming back to Margaret's point, the coffee. Who pays for that coffee? Is it arranged by HAPS and AGS or
Yes.
the institution?
It's through your
Yeah,
catering.
HAPS will negotiate with the caterers and any, snacks or coffee or lunch or any of that stuff. They'll take care of all of the arrangement of that.
And that's part of what the registration fee is for, to pay for that coffee.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And also for our institution, we also have, in addition to the graduate research, MD, PhD, we have a pretty strong undergraduate research program. So usually a lot of scholars, they are working regularly, and these will be a good venue for them to present their research work. Yeah, so always they are looking for forum, and it will be, if it is institutes, they do not have to pay for the anything for travel to go to other place to present. So it will be a very good opportunity.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great opportunity for students. Amazing.
One of the things I had my planning team do leading up to the conference was we kind of did found all of the schools that were within about a 6-hour driving distance from Florida Southern, and we found that there were about 79 schools. And we broke that list up, and then we actually stalked their websites and their scheduling sites to find who was teaching anatomy and physiology. And then created a distribution list for contact to try to get some more people that maybe are not participating in HAPS, we're not members in HAPS, but try to get them to come on out. It was a little time consuming, but we had about 5 or 6 people that were on our planning team. Heidi was one of them, and it worked well. We were able to reach about another 450, 500 people. And we were able to get a few people to come out that were not members of HAPS to attend the conference that way. So it does work. And don't forget your local high school teachers that teach anatomy and physiology as
Yes.
well. That's an untapped market for us that you can reach out and invite.
Going right off what you said there, Larry, some of us are at a medical school. Medical schools have the list of those pre-med advisors and so on. That's an easy tap out to schools within that 6-hour radius and beyond. So yeah, I heard someone say associated with medical school. That's a great place to get.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's great to know, because I know in the past we had a membership committee at HAPS for a while that would do like Larry said, and find all the schools in your state and possibly neighboring states. And so it's great to hear you mention med school lists. And so that's where that the Welcome Experience Committee at HAPS might follow up with you on that mindset, and we'll look at your state and see what med schools are in that state, and they may help us to reach out to all those places. So thank you.
Yeah, I know, Carol, you mentioned, I think there's 40 institutions within a 100-mile radius, so that would be good tapping that.
Yep, we're also, we have 3 medical centers within, 150 miles, and we've also got a number of HBCUs that we're going to try and promote our outreach to.
Awesome.
Using statewide listservs are a wonderful way to spread the word out too. You can talk to, like Larry said, the high school teachers. A lot of states have a good BOCES list. And so it's an easy way for them to just canvass throughout the whole state and doesn't cause you to have to reinvent the wheel of making a list. I know, like when I was in Arizona, we had a listserv communicating all the biology teachers in the entire state. And so it's easy to quickly shoot that out, and they can help you find their own lists. And so helping to build that stuff. If you're thinking of using the regional to test your school to maybe then host an annual, building those lists is a great way to kind of build more of that support so that we can then move one step further up. And when we plan for the big meeting.
The big one. All right. Anybody else who's on here newly that hasn't sort of started the process yet, that has any pressing questions that haven't already been answered?
Let me ask you a quick question. Show of hands, how many of you are in the Western region? Okay, I'm seeing a couple of hands there. All right. How many of you in the Eastern region?
How do you see hands? Where's the hand?
Okay, I gotta go to gallery. There we go. Wait, was that Eastern, Bobby?
Okay. Got Bobby in the Eastern. Okay. How many in the Central?
I missed it.
Okay, I see a couple in Central. And how many in the Southern? Oh, I'm loving that. Okay.
They're not.
Something to bear in mind as well is we do have regional presenters in your region, like Larry and like Todd, who can also help you to answer questions of, how did you reach out to this and who did you talk to with that? And so our committee is happy to help you as best we can, but you've got colleagues, literally down the road that can help you figure out a lot of the stuff as well. And think of some of the neat little thoughts to add in too. So we've got a great network to help you with, and we'd love to try and spread things out. And if you hate a colleague enough that you want to make them, make eye contact with Tom, we can, always reach out to them to host a regional reading as well. So I have no problem pushing people under the bus every chance I get.
Yeah, I'll back Larry up. When I was hosting my regional or trying to host my regional, getting the update speakers was the difficult thing, and now I'm doing it for the annual, but I've already reached out and tried to have started on that. The other thing I would say I learned at the past annual is, and this is kind of a logistics thing, prepare for your AV to fail. Or prepare for it, or prepare for like speakers and presenters to not have enough AV stuff, or make sure you're covered with that. I'm good on my campus. We've got plenty of IT, but that's one thing I took out of Pittsburgh.
I'll also say that I had a conversation with somebody this weekend who is a Hapster but can't ever attend the annual. So these regionals are super important. Some people can never ever attend for either family reasons or institutional reasons. They'll never make it to the big annuals. And so making, if you're in Central, if you're in Eastern, those are important places that we, continue to, we've got a lot of Southern and offer all over all 4 regions so that folks can make it to a HAPS conference in a year. One particular individual that I was chatting with is really missing the ability to go to annuals and really looking for something a little bit closer to her home school so that she can drive and make it to a one-day workshop.
The other thing that we're starting to notice, I think, a little bit more, and I noticed it with the last regional conference, regional conference in the Western region, and then my conference as well, is folks are willing to travel. We had 26 states represented at my conference with all 4 regions present. And so a lot of times location will matter. And I think for a lot of people, the regionals are about $100, $120, somewhere around there, as opposed to $500 for the annual. And so schools sometimes are more willing to pay for travel, knowing that the conference is that much cheaper and it's a weekend. So folks are less likely to miss class time and things like that. And so we're noticing a little bit more mobility and flexibility with people willing to travel, which does help garner a little bit more support.
And I cannot strongly enough recommend not doing all of this or thinking you have to do all of this by yourself. Get a committee, if only to have some other people that you can brainstorm who do we know who's a good speaker who could speak on this topic. And just to have other people, you will need to be more than one person on the day of. So it's helpful to have people roped in from the beginning to be present so that somebody can be at the registration desk while you go deal with AV issues.
Tom has a good point. Be mindful of weather. There's weather things that happen in certain areas, but also there's also considerations for like really high traffic times. Like people go south in those really chilly times in, the winter months. Those are going to be really expensive times to travel to places like, Florida or the, southern sort of like escape places. So just think about those when you're planning your dates as well.
On the other hand, someone may decide it's worth the extra few little dollars if they can convince their school that, okay, I've been up in the cold, frigid north for months and months and months. Florida for a weekend in February might be just enticing enough, or Texas or Arizona or New Mexico. Yes. So think about that. Think of how you can promote your location.
Right, exactly. That's what I thought, that maybe people would like to get a break in March from that cold weather.
I hosted a regional in Eastern Colorado back in 2003, and I had a first-time Hapster and his wife drive from Zanesville, Ohio, to come to the meeting, which blew me away that someone had heard about this and drove that far just for the heck of it. Just because we call it a regional meeting, it's not just for the people in your region. And you'll get people who will call and ask that, am I permitted to come? Oh, dear God, yes. And so, we'll try to get all 4 of the regional directors to help you promote your regional in their regions.
Yes, it is beautiful in the fall months. No hurricanes. I know oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have another question. What I was thinking, this one I didn't get to explore more, like Friday, starting from Friday afternoon, evening, and then going for Saturday whole day and having the pre-conference workshop. For the pre-conference workshop, because I saw in the HAPS there is that interest email is out for the animal dissection. So I was thinking of, instead of cadaver, if we could arrange some animal dissection, because we do rabbits, sheep, kidney, brain, all of those. So do you think that could be possible to add in there if I get enough support from my home institute and the lab space available?
I
It is
think
very,
that
Margaret, go ahead.
very possible, but you have to think about who is coming. Are they going to have to travel to get there? And are they going to want to give up, if they're teaching, are they going to give up their Friday classes in order to be at your Friday afternoon workshop? So it really depends on time availability, other people's time availability. And yeah, Sunday morning might actually, I agree with Larry, Sunday morning might be better than Friday evening. I had an optional social gathering before my regional and said, if you're coming in from out of town and you're coming in Friday night, we're all going to meet for dinner at this restaurant, which is in walking distance of the hotel that you're all staying at. So there's lots of things that you can do, but we only had about 6 people that took us up on that. So it's the numbers game. You can schedule it, but just scheduling it doesn't mean necessarily they're all going to come.
But the workshop, yeah, whether how many people will be there to join, that will be uncertain, but offering the workshop without worrying about outsiders, we in our department, we have a number of good people, good intersection, and they are interested to be associated with the committee for the conference.
Yes, Kim, collaborate. Get all those folks on your committee. The more the
Yeah.
merrier, and then it just really expands the interest and they're vested and they, it's just going to draw in more attendees.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Where's your institution, Kim?
I'm in, let me put my camera on. I was late, so I've been feeling guilty for putting my camera on. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay. Oh yes, that's right, Kim. We
Yeah.
chatted, and I just saw your student at Sabre.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Hey, since you're from Lincoln, you want to work a little bit with the KC committee for next year's annual?
Sure.
Okay. I will. Do you have a HAPS Connect email?
I do not.
Okay.
Do you want me just to I can
membership on oh sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll put it in chat.
Awesome. Yay, love this. And then you're going to get your training wheels, Kim, because Nebraska's coming up.
Okay, cool.
Kim, it's funny that Todd beat me to the punch. I was about to say, you're close enough to Kansas City that you can either work with Todd to help expand the outreach of his. You can still also plan on a nice regional of your own, because now we always find so many people that learn about a HAPS conference the month after it was in their hometown. And so invariably, there are going to be people who unfortunately won't realize that KC is hosting an annual until a month later, or everyone who did go back home and tell all their buddies. And we'd love to be able to say, well, this next spring, we're going to be in Lincoln, Nebraska presenting. And that's a wonderful thing to think about as well. Where you are in relation to nearby annuals can be a huge push.
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
I think the other thing just to stress, and I think it's been touched on, but community college, 2-year institutions, generally many individuals at those institutions don't have a lot of funding. They don't get funding. There's plenty of folks at 4-year institutions as well. So that outreach, when you're planning these, getting those folks involved, because if they can just drive for a 1-day conference and get that value for $100 versus not having, the money to fly to St. Louis or fly to KC and stay for 4 days. It really is I think that's important, stressing all of those institutions that are in the area. Let's see. So Abby, you said that your institution is excited, but you guys are doing construction right now?
Yeah, correct. I was told they were going to do construction next summer, but I actually got an email today saying that they're pushing it to 2027. So if I wanted, I could still do something maybe potentially next summer. So it's still in the works. They had a bunch of questions, and I'll definitely be going back with a lot more knowledge.
Because I was talking to Sheila in Chicago. She's in like north of Chicago, and she was like, "We need to have a central. We need to
I
have
know. Yeah, I mean, there's so many large institutions in Chicago, right? There's, I mean, Northwestern, Loyola, U Chicago, UIC, Rush, that have also really big professional schools. But then we have so many city colleges and community colleges in the surrounding Chicagoland area. And I mean, high schools, like I think it would be a really good turnout. I'm just now worried about space and infrastructure and like planning and all of that because of a potential larger turnout. So, and Chicago charges like an ant for parking. So I'm trying to figure out like where people would park and all of that logistical stuff would be, I think, the harder part. I think getting keynotes and workshops and stuff from students would actually not be too hard. It's more of like IT, AV, parking, hotel, like that is the more worrisome aspect for me right now. And cost, because I'm not for certain on how much the institution would be able to give
Addie,
leeway.
one thing to consider is you can look at, and I'm not giving you one answer, you have to decide this, but you could aim at hosting it in Chicago, and then may draw a lot of people who want to come visit Chicago for the weekend. Or you could purposely go an hour outside, hit some place like Sugar Grove or Elgin. And then, like you said, cost-wise, that may suddenly be a lot lower for things like parking or motels or so forth. And some of those little schools may be just uber excited to want to bring a lot of people to their school for the day. That's something you may want to think about in terms of how.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I just wanted to advocate for like a dissection workshops because of just the infrastructure, and our lab is just so large. And so bringing people to that, and we have similar AV like Carol said, so we have new TBL classrooms and you can stream them from different floors and different spaces and really big lecture halls, and but also really great like peer-to-peer teaching rooms. So I don't want to miss out on that. But I agree. I think potentially just even collaborating, like, all right, one day maybe at UIC, and then, you know, maybe a Sunday or something would be at a smaller community college. But yeah, that's definitely all really good input. I hadn't thought about that.
You also have like you have public you have the L, right? You have
Yeah.
train.
Yeah,
Oh,
Metro is like pretty easy to commute from too. So
So yeah. I mean, and people come to conferences and they Uber, you know, it's not always,
yeah.
you know, it's possible. Excited about that one.
I know, and like summertime shy is just so good. It's so beautiful here.
So gorgeous there.
It's thundering and lightning right now, but usually it's great.
And that smog, I think, moved from, we were in the Twin Cities, and I think it moved over to Chicago, right?
Yeah,
The burn smog.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Anybody else we have not answered pressing questions for? Tom, do you have anything else you want to?
Oh, I actually have.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One question. And this is like, again, logistical. So, all of our buildings are locked, right? And so to get inside of a building, you have to have like key card access and whatnot. At other institutions or other regionals, how have they managed that? Like, how do you get people in and out of buildings?
Just did
And
this
someone just stands at the door and lets them in?
That's exactly. Students stand at the door, sit at the, they had
Student
chairs
workers.
in all the vestibules.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems like
have
an
your
easy way, but I was just curious for like a safety concern or safety reason. But yeah, I guess you could just have them like where they're lanyard and then let them in.
It's a great opportunity for students looking for service hours and things
Yeah.
like that. And yep.
Cool. Okay.
I know we've had a couple of regionals before where you know, some school has a number of adjunct faculty that, you know, can't afford to go to the regional, but want to volunteer to help. And so like Larry said, you know, it's great for them to put this on the resume that I assisted with. And so that's another place to look for people to help. What I was going to throw out earlier is we have a large virtual conference this fall in October, but in the past we've also had smaller one-day virtual regional meetings. And if you're concerned that your location is like so physically isolated that no one's going to drive to my location, that's something to think about too, is you may want to think about hosting a one-day virtual meeting as well. We've done those in the past. They've been very successful. Todd, you know, got to figure this out when we suddenly had that pesky little pandemic a few years ago. We had to shift gears with a number of schools, and we had tremendous success with those. Larry, you know, I mean, as long as the hurricane doesn't knock out the Wi-Fi, we still got a chance for that. But these are things to think about. And year-round, travel is not that impacted, you know, because of weather if you're doing virtual. And so if you wanted to host something, say in the November or February month, that's something to ponder. HAPS has got options for you.
All right, well, we are coming up on the hour, but if you think of anything that you have additional questions about, you need more support, you're looking for that you know, sample letter, reach out to me or reach out to Tom, or Dana's here as well, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to get you any questions answered and on your way to applying for your HAPS Regional. Thank you all for coming. Larry too, because he is a pro. He planned it twice, kind of.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Beth, don't go anywhere yet.
Okay.
All right, Beth, I'm out the door. Thank you. Let me know if you had anything.
Bye, Tom.